Our parents could save enough to buy a home after just 2 years of renting. Think about that. It takes us over 6 years. And while boomers only had to work 300 hours at minimum wage to pay off college, our generation has to work 4,459 hours to do the same thing. The expenses that hurt us the most, rent, healthcare, student loans, even childcare, are all examples of outdated industries that have become totally out of touch with the realities of our generation. Even though the future seems bleak, there are solutions out there. Our only option when we encounter these broken systems is for us to step up and create new business models that make things work for everyone. Thankfully, there are creative new models coming out, like this thing called an ISA, otherwise known as an income share agreement. You actually no longer take out any student loans to attend university. You simply agree to pay back a small percent of your income for the first 3 years of work. That way, your incentives and the university's incentives are aligned. They only get paid when you get a job, and you never have to worry about missing a student loan payment. And instead of spending 40 years to pay off debt, you're in the clear after just 3. So what else can we solve together? I'll share a personal example. When renting an apartment, we're required to pay an outrageous amount of money up front. Your landlord will ask you for things like your first month rent, your last month rent, a security deposit, your credit score, pretty much every piece of information short of your freshman year's roommate's middle name. And for a generation like ours that barely has any savings, they may as well be telling us to hand over a non-existent firstborn child. Instead of waiting for someone else to fix it, a couple of friends and I worked on an idea that turned into a startup called Rhino. What we discovered was that there's $45 billion of our generation's hard-earned savings that are locked up in security deposits nationwide. So we came up with a pretty simple solution that made moving into our apartment affordable. We replaced the security deposit with a simple $5 a month insurance plan. So we were able to save money. Our landlord was still protected. And in just 1 year, this business ended up saving other people tens of millions of dollars too. It's often the simplest ideas that can completely transform an industry. Take a look at transportation. It might be hard to remember, but just a few years ago, if you lived in a city without great public transportation, you were pretty much forced to pay a huge monthly expense to lease a car. And then companies like Lyft and Via came up with a pretty simple way to pool rides together for as little as $5 a trip. Suddenly, you had the convenience of going from any point to any point in the city for as cheap as public transportation. So how can we apply that same approach to tackling even bigger issues like student loans? Well, one option is we all wait and hope we get a commencement speaker like Robert Smith, who just offered to pay off the entire class of 2019's debt for Morehouse. But we shouldn't have to rely on other people to solve this issue for us, especially when a gift as large as $40 million, one of the largest donations in history, was barely enough to pay off student loans for just 400 people. Together, we can use the same spirit of creative ingenuity to come up with real solutions that can fix everything from the crazy cost of health insurance to education. These things should give us feelings of excitement rather than doom. And there is a future in which millennials don't have to write off the idea of buying a home because we can't afford it. We can create solutions that will bring down these insane costs and provide not just our generation, but future ones, a path to unprecedented economic prosperity.